Hi, welcome again. It's just me at the moment. Monique will be joining me in a minute. I have just finished the 6 p.m. meeting, and this is now the 6:30 meeting for Tuesday, the 9th of December, 2025. Hopefully, she will get the correct details to get into the meeting. And while I'm waiting, I'll just see if I can find those details. And send them to her again in case she's still caught up, but trying to get between the meetings. There's been a minor issue. In fact, there's been quite a few issues from start to finish of these Zoom meetings. We've trialed different methods of delivering group webinar type meetings. That's probably not a really good word here. Joint Bible study in a sense, but not really a Bible study. Basically, a group Christian meeting on a subject of whatever the subject is for the day. So, Monique's just joining us now.
Hi.
Hi, Monique. Welcome to this session.
We're hoping that we can actually have this recorded and put up something for next time.
Exactly. We tried to record last week's meeting, which unfortunately I ran out of space on my computer and there was no space left in the hard drive, so the meeting didn't record. So we're going to do last week's meeting again, which was, is there a God? And I'll kick it off with the same things that I said last week. Unfortunately, they didn't get recorded. Well, the first point is if we look at the order and the fine tuning of the universe, it suggests an intentional design. The precise constraints allowing life's existence are so statistically improbable without a purposeful creator. They are not just improbable, they are all but impossible. We're talking trillions to one. In fact, that's a very small figure. The figure I was given was 10 tradecillion, which is 10 with 40 zeros after it, to one of this universe existing as it is. And yeah, that's so incredible. Anyway, Monique, any thoughts on the order and fine tuning of the universe suggesting that it's an intentional design?
Fine tuning of the universe? Wow. Wow. I know that there is order within the universe. You can see it by the way that the birds fly, certain patterns. You can see it by the way that even like the way the animals have their, I call it their gatherings, but the way they assemble together, if that makes sense.
Every action and every reaction just works together. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they heard, because I know there's all different words for like a flock of seagulls or this or that, but they all they all have a pattern, like not just a design, but a pattern of the way that they live and like even move.
Yeah, especially if you're looking at a flock of starlings. Now, they're the birds that you'll find thousands of them in a very small, tight group flying across the sky, and it might wobble around as it flies, etc.
Oh,
And if there's a predator in the area, a predatory bird like an eagle or something like that flying into the area, you'll see them split out and come back together in a big mob, and they're all doing it all in tune. They all seem to know what each and every other one is doing. It's all tied together.
wow, that's interesting.
Excuse me. I've been talking a while, so I'm getting a bit of a talking cough. Now, the
Yeah.
second point, the origin of existence demands an uncaused cause. In other words, how did the Big Bang start? Did something start the Big Bang? Was there a cause that caused that to happen? No, that had to have happened by something that didn't have a cause of its own. That's probably going to a strange direction to explain that. But basically, everything that begins must have a source, implying that there is something necessary outside time and matter to have caused the Big Bang. And what could there be outside time and matter to cause a Big Bang other than God? Science certainly can't answer it. Any thoughts, Monique?
I just know that when I've heard like different testimonies of people that have had either near-death experiences or medically have died and it's been confirmed by doctors and then they've come back to life. I know this is a bit left of center to what you said, but they always say that heaven has no time. Not just that you're in eternity, but multiple, because like I have watched multiple testimonies over 30 years, and they say that it's like heaven exists outside of time. So, like, I know it's a left of center,
Yeah, no,
but
it's fine. It's still on the subject.
yeah, I think it's like relevant because
And I wasn't going to touch on that. Um, there must be something outside time and existence to have caused that existence and time to start. Absolutely. So, um, people having death experiences and coming back to life after being revived in a hospital, etc. Yeah, they have stories just like that, and they have a new sense and awe of life. Even the ones that are not Christians, they treat life differently with a consideration that there is something beyond
oh,
just
I
what we
really
have and what
do.
we see. Absolutely.
I really do. And I was watching a movie, but it was actually more like a documentary just this last week about evolution, I guess, versus creation. And it was interesting. Now, I can't quote the stuff verbatim, but there was the debate around the monkeys and stuff. And it was interesting because there was something about the 40 species that they found of different fossils, I think it was, of monkeys and stuff. And I'm just trying to remember. Have you ever heard about that, Glenn?
Um, well,
But when it's broken down, the findings are not as they say. Like it's not as concrete, if you want to call it. Like um, there was stuff about, I think it was the backbone, part of the skeletal system. and the whole skeletal system wasn't found of the particular monkey that they were saying, was the one that, I'm going to use the word, morphed. Have you ever heard
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, yeah. Um, I'm not sure exactly what you're saying there, but I can take that one step further. If evolution is true, great. So we've got humanity, which came from apes, and apes came from base mammals, and mammals came after the reptile life, and therefore from the reptile life. Well, how did reptile life change into mammal life in the first case? That's a link that they can't find. But we go back even further, and we can see how fish potentially, possibly could have become reptile, sure. Um, but let's go back even further to the very first life. The smallest amoebas and the smallest, I can't recall what the itty bitty single celled organisms are, and the other forms of early initial life. Science has not been able to find how non life became life. So, when looking at evolution, there's a question to answer. If science cannot answer how life came about, oh, sure, they've got an answer to how life evolved, but they can't answer how life came about. What caused that life in the first place? Again, the only answer I can give is God, and they cannot deny God because they certainly don't have an answer. Back to you, Monique.
Well, what about the part with evolution? How this is the question that I have, how it's meant to have gone from chaos to order. Now, isn't there general designs? This is completely disclaimer. This is totally free script here. This has not been discussed prior, so I'm not sure if Glenn has the answer. But isn't there some design that, um, not laws of gravity, but other stuff that shows you that chaos doesn't go to order?
The second law of thermodynamics is entropy, and that basically states that everything is in a state of decay. Everything is going from order to disorder. So that's a scientific law, yes. Nothing is, by that scientific law, becoming more perfect. It is becoming
Wow.
less perfect. It does contradict the theory of evolution. So,
Sorry, I'm just a bit like,
all good.
we, we
Another
wonder why.
angle,
Yes.
yeah, another angle is human morality points to a moral lawgiver. We
Oh,
have
yes.
universal concepts of right and wrong, which are amongst all cultures, all people, hinting at a higher moral source beyond social intervention. Because it's something that comes up in all societies, in all places, everywhere. Where there are people, there is a sense of morality within all of them. And science can't identify how and where that came from. So that leaves only potentially a God. Any thoughts, Monique?
I was just thinking, because last week I was saying about how the word says that God has placed eternity in our hearts. But I was just thinking of a different angle then too, was the fact that we search for answers, we search for, let's say, something to worship, etc., that in and of itself shows me that we were created and we are seeking, we are longing to be reconnected, reconciled to the Creator. Even though when people perhaps are first seeking that, they don't truly know what they're seeking. But that comes back to there's one mediator between God and man, which is Jesus Christ. So ultimately, what our soul is seeking is that reconciliation to God.
Yes. I'm going to move on to the next point that I've got anyway, because I think that one's covered. Now, that then leads us to human consciousness. We are moral, or we like to think we're moral. We like to have a moral code at least. And that's because we have a consciousness. We think, we have feelings, and we have self-awareness. That exceeds material expectations. Animals basically don't have the same level of consciousness or awareness. Some incredibly bright animals have a degree of awareness, but it's nothing compared to humanity. Because what we have beyond them is the ability to reason and to create off our own abilities, because animals can create, but they don't have the reasoning behind it. All they can do, like a ape might grab a stick to get honey out of a hole in a tree that's got a beehive in there, and might get a stick. The ape is using a tool to gain honey. So there's a level of reasoning, but it's not a creative reasoning. They can't therefore go, oh, now I understand tools. I can create a tool that is beyond a stick. I can create a knife and a fork, and
Yeah, that's a
they
good
don't
point.
have that creativity that humans have.
Yeah, like they might be able to build a house that for their habitat, but it's for the way that they were designed by God.
Yes, like a
Way
bird
they
might
were
build a
created.
nest, but it's instinctual. It's not creative at
Instinctual.
all.
That's the word. Yeah.
So that indicates that our mind was inspired by a mind beyond us, beyond animals, um, to be able to possess an immaterial consciousness, thoughts, beliefs, desires, and science can't even explain uh, how and where those thoughts and consciousness exist. They can say, look, there's a chemistry in the brain and it all flows around the chemistry. There's electrical activity in the brain, and different electrical patterns make different thoughts, etc. But we're not thinking in electrical patterns. We're not seeing electrical patterns. We see and think in words and so on. And they cannot explain how that process can even exist. They say, well, we know it exists, but how it exists, they don't know. So again, that's something that leads to something being beyond science that has created a life for us to head in a certain direction. And we'll work out that certain direction in future meetings and messages as we go. But Today, we're just talking about is there a God? So that too indicates a God. Monique, any thoughts?
No, I think that's really good.
Okay,
I
great.
think that covered stuff that other people that share about God and witness about God, they very rarely cover these sort of things.
Yeah. And there's a beauty to the world, and I'm not just saying a beauty as in flowers are pretty. I'm saying there is things that can be explained by math, and if you understand science, everything is mathematical. Sure, I am a person, but I have an exact number of knuckles in my hand. I've got 15 knuckles in my hand, three on each finger, 5 fingers. Well, I'm calling that a finger. It's all numerical. And everything can be described in math, as in even lines and curves can all be described mathematically. So if we were to look at that everything mathematically, we can actually find an absolute beauty within that as well, because it just creates a beautiful picture. Not necessarily, again, beauty as in that flower is pretty, that dress is pretty, but a it all works and fits together kind of beauty. Any thoughts, Monique?
Yes, that reminds me of the scripture that says God has made everything beautiful in his time. And I love how the word complements what we visually see in this universe. Like everything in his word backs up what we see, whether it's talking about the galaxies, the stars, the mountains, um, even, there's many scriptures that talk about the mostly to do with Israel and the other countries. It names all those countries. They did have a different name back then, except for Israel. Geographically, God's word talks about like the Red Sea, Euphrates River. It's just, he has made everything beautiful
Yeah.
in time.
Okay. And another point, and I'll try and start wrapping these points up pretty quick now. Uh, we have historical accounts of miracles and religious experiences across cultures, but a great many of them within Christianity. And that suggests a divine interaction, a reality which exists beyond imagination. That also suggests a God. Any thoughts, Monique, on miracles showing that there's a God?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the guy, sorry, I don't remember his name, but he's on YouTube, who has documented medical miracles because he was literally dead uh, for quite a while. And basically, the doctors said that because God said to him on the other side as such, I don't like using that terminology, but it's true. Um, I have to give you new organs because your body is like so wrecked. I can't remember if he had heart or there was multiple issues. And so there was definite creative miracles because when the doctor was testing him, he said, raise your hands. And the doctor obviously didn't expect that he would have that function. And he raised his hands, and they basically, it's kind of what you were saying, they had to say it was a miracle because there was no medically it was at a point that there was nothing that they could do. So, and I just, I don't think, I think miracles in and of themselves, there's like, how do you say it? I was going to say like a handiwork behind it, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, it's not like the fairy godmother, like the, dong, you know what I mean? It's like, that's not, there is no fairy godmother. As much as people want to thank the universe, and that's not how the miracles come about.
Yeah.
They are from God, and God gives miracles sometimes to non believers to show his work, his power, and his glory.
Yeah. I'm going to get back to the way we think again just for a moment. And one thing that I could add to that is we also have a desire to meet needs that aren't necessarily natural, as in, naturally, we need to eat, we need shelter. But humanity has something beyond that. We have a need for love and a desire for justice, and we want to have a purpose in life. Uh, Even creatures that have some kind of intelligence don't seem to have any purpose in their life. So, why is it that people seek a purpose in life and love, etc.? Those things that are then even beyond your average thought. Uh, Things that are more than thought, but more like spiritual aspects of thought, for example. Any thoughts?
I definitely think that a lot of the world puts love under the banner of, oh, you know, I'll just love everyone and all that stuff. And they don't really realize that the source of that love, the fact that we can love, the fact that we can receive love, you know, whether it's friend, child, that is ultimately from God.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've only got a minute or two left, so I'm going to wrap it up now with one last crucial capping thought, and it's contingency and contingency in reverse. Now, if we start with A, B, C, D, E, and go on, we finish with X, Y, and Z. We can't have Z unless Y existed. We can't have Y unless X existed. We can't have X unless W existed, and so on. It's a contingency. Now I'm reversing the contingency because B relies on A and C relies on B all the way through. If we reverse the contingency of everything that exists backwards upon everything that was required, the contingent matter, for it to exist, we cannot regress or go backwards infinitely to nothing. It's impossible. So does that in itself show that there therefore must be a God? Any thoughts, Monique? Or is that one a little bit out there?
Yeah, I just think that's really good to just leave hanging in the air. Like,
Sure.
it's really good.
I'll let everybody else that is viewing contemplate that. And we'll wrap up because the half hour is up, and the goal for these sessions is to be 20 minutes to half an hour maximum. So thank you for anyone that's watched this video once we've put it on the site, because again, nobody else has actually joined us tonight. Bless you and good night from me. Monique?
Night, Glenn. See you Friday.
Okay, bless you. Catch you all Friday. Hope there's a few more people that join us.
Ciao.
Govern well.